not wearing a mask in public is like not wearing a seatbelt because no one else is.
Or not wearing a life jacket because it's uncomfortable.
Or not wearing a helmet because it's just one play.
Or not putting me in a car seat because we're only going down the block.
A mask is like anything that keeps us safe. It only works if you wear it.
So wear a mask when you're out in public, because we're all safer and stronger when we go all in, Illinois.
Shalom, like give all underglory and praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham Rakakudash. I give double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone. Salutations to all you sincere brothers pushing this word out across the four corners of the earth. And this is an article from newstarget.com, and the title says, some doctors and politicians engaged in vicious coercion refer to people who don't wear masks as enemy combatants. And this was published on December the 3rd, 2020. So let's get the word combatant. And this is from the Free Dictionary. And it says, a person or group engaged in or prepared for a fight, struggle, or dispute. So as you can see with Esau or E, how they're pushing out their heavy campaign about people who don't wear masks. And just like we stated through the spirit, that if you're not a part of this new norm program, which is going to their new world order, then you are considered like an enemy, a combatant, opposition to them. So a lot of people are getting hesitant, getting really suspicious about these masks now, because this is the informational age, and a lot of truth is coming about these different masks and just the disadvantages of it. And in this article, it's going to detail some of that as well. So some doctors and politicians engaged in vicious coercion refer to people who don't wear masks as enemy combatants. In July, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said those who don't wear a mask in public are the enemy, while citing a rising positivity rate from COVID-19 test kits. These test kits can have a false positivity rate as high as 97% and should never be used to suspend civil liberties, as ruled by a Portuguese court. So why isn't the Illinois governor cracking down on the medical fraud? Answer, he derives his power from the fraud, because these different governors, mayors, these different politicians that are in office, they are nothing but lesser luminaries. They are just low-ranking puppets that's doing the bidding of the elites, the ones that actually pull strings in this society, actually calls the shots, the ones that are able to fund both sides of the war and portray it in the news as if they're the good guys. And it says, in October, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer singled out those in the legislature who do not wear masks as anti-maskers. She declared that everyone must mask up and submit to her second round of lockdown orders as if she is the supreme law of the land. She made the threats while violating court orders that determine her perpetual state of emergency as unconstitutional. So as you see with Esau, Edom, how they're getting their campaign ready for people who don't want to comply with the government orders, these different coronavirus lockdown orders, these different guidelines. So what they're doing, they're using buzzwords. And a buzzword is a word or a phrase. It can be new or already existing and becomes very popular for a period of time. So with this situation that's going on right now, with this so-called pandemic, for the people that don't want to comply with these different guidelines, they use these different buzzwords such as you're an enemy, you're a combatant, you're an anti-masker. And from Elder Apostle Gabar's video he was going into about you will be labeled as domestic terrorists. And that's exactly right. And that leads me to the book of Isaiah, the 10th chapter, and the first verse. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees in their right grievousness, which they have prescribed. And that's only one nation of people that does that. And that's the Edomites, which are the so-called Caucasians today. And that's more so the elites of the Edomite nation. And this is the book of Psalm, the 10th chapter, and the 4th verse. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, and you can read the book of Malachi, the 1st chapter. It goes in details who the wicked are. The Edomites, which are the border of wickedness. So through the pride of his countenance, would not see after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts, because when they write these different unrighteous laws and decrees, they're definitely not thinking about the Heavenly Father with his laws, statutes, and commandments. They do not have no type of guilty conscience how they maneuver throughout this whole world. just doing nothing but grievousness, evil, and just being deceitful. So the Heavenly Father, Yahawah, is not in their thoughts. Verse 5, his ways are always grievous, always, meaning they are severe, dangerous. And just to back that statement up, if you go to Edamon online for draconian, it says of or pertaining to Draco, the ancient Greek statesman, 1777, in reference to laws, rigorous, extremely severe or harsh. Look how these American Edomites uphold the ancient Greek empire. It's like the same draconian measures. His ways goes into his mandates, his guidelines, his different policies and laws that he passes out. And all of this is partaking to that image of the beast. So the scripture's telling us that the wicked with their different laws, their ways are always grievous. So we know through the spirit not to follow suit of these Edomites. So his ways are always grievous or severe. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He has said in his heart, I should not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. And that's a pride of Esau Edom, old nasty E. And check this out. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. And this author of this article asked a good question. He asks, so why isn't the Illinois governor cracking down on the medical fraud? And we know that these different governors and mayors are all puns, and they're just doing what they're told by the banking elites. But still, it's a good question to ask. So notice that word fraud. I just read in the book of Psalm, the 10th chapter and the 7th verse, how his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Those are all characteristics of Esau Edom, because that word fraud goes into trickery. The scriptures tell us in the book of Ephesians, the 6th chapter, put on the whole armor of the Heavenly Father, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, meaning his trickery, his deceits, his falsehoods. So this medical fraud that this guy is referring to is Big Pharma, which is the world's pharmaceutical industry. And that includes the trade group, Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. So Big Pharma and different medical device companies make billions of dollars every year. It's a money racket. And also with Big Pharma, they play a heavy political role on these different hospitals, trickling on down to these different doctors and nurses. Whereas if a person talk about natural healing, dealing with herbs, or talk about a cure, that type of talk is considered as crackery to them. And they will blackball you for coming out and saying certain things like that, especially if you have some type of influence in this society. So the reason why he's questioning this medical fraud, aka Big Pharma, because once a person is sick and they go to the hospital, Big Pharma consider that person as a customer, not a patient. Because that so-called patient is going to the hospital and they're just getting their fix, and they coming right back to receive more pharmaceutical drugs. Because these doctors don't cure, they only treat you. And one of the quotes I like to quote is a patient cured, it's a customer lost. And Big Pharma hates that, because they are losing money when a person considered to go the natural route, dealing with the Most High's herbs, his medicines. So going back to the word Big Pharma, which goes into pharmaceutical, and that word goes into pharmakia, and that's dealing with witchcraft and sorcery. That's why one of the biggest pharmaceutical stores in America is known as Walgreens. And where you see they have that big cauldron and they have that wooden pestle inside that cauldron. And notice out of that cauldron, it's little stars popping up out of it. And that's going to that potion. And that's nothing but sorcery and witchcraft, man. Okay, so back in the book of Psalm, the 10th chapter and 7th verse, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Going into perverseness, disorder, excessive pride. That's all referring to Esau Edom. So going back to this article again, because this lesson is going more into how Esau is mandating these masks and he's pushing that vibration out on the people. So it's a good point in this article, and this is going to the disadvantages of wearing masks indefinitely. It says masks are not the end-all cure-all, holy grail of science. Wearing a mask all the time can cause yeast infections around the mouth. This mask-induced health problem is being reported at a growing rate by dentists and dental hygienists. Indefinite mask wearing can also cause lung infections because it is not safe to strain the respiratory system, regurgitate CO2. So of course CO2 goes into carbon dioxide, which is an odorless gas. So it's a waste product made by the human body. So our blood carries or transmits carbon dioxide to our lungs. We inhale oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. So by wearing those masks all day throughout the day, and you even have these simple people be driving and they be having them on in their cars, that's causing a lot of harm to your body, and that's weakening your immune system. And it was another medical term I came across, and it's called hypoxia, and it's spelled Hypoxia. It's a condition of the body in which the tissues are deprived of oxygen. It's not getting the adequate amount of oxygen to the body because it's being deprived. In what case in this situation? These masks. You're wearing your mask throughout the whole day. You got these American sheep wearing them in the cars. There's nobody in there with them. So that's making your immune system be more compromised. Then your body be more susceptible in catching all these different diseases that are actually out here, because your immune system don't have no type of ability to fight them off. But are they going to come out and tell you this on mainstream news? Esau's propaganda machine? No, they're not. Because you have to look at it, who controls this false narrative? And they're all pushing this anti-life agenda. Esau is never about pro-life. He represents death. So it says indefinite mask wearing can also cause lung infections because it is not safe to strain the respiratory system, regurgitate CO2, and breathe in a moist environment that can colonize infectious bacteria. The nose was designed to filter out the air from the immediate environment, and the respiratory and circulatory system were designed to function unimpeded, meaning unhindered. So as you can see that Yahawah Yahawashi has designed the human body to work perfect and to function properly. But here comes that old serpent, the devil, old sleazy E, want to go ahead and disrupt the correct order of things. Everything's already aligned up by Yahawashi concerning the human body. It's all in sync. So Esau's propaganda machine, this mainstream news, they're pushing out their dogma about wearing masks indefinitely. And this article details all the disadvantages of wearing masks for a long period of time and how detrimental it is to the human body. So you have a majority of these people are simpletons that actually believe this madness that they're hearing and see on TV. So by wearing their masks throughout the whole day, you might even have people go to sleep with them on. And they're thinking how beneficial it is to them and people surrounding them, but it's totally weakening your immune system. And what about the airborne bacteria and different pathogens that's out here? And it lands on your body that's not covered up. Like, people don't even consider that. Like, the more this society goes on, the more Isaiah, the 60th chapter and the 2nd verse come more to light. Even more, it's just more clear. How it says, for behold, the darkness should cover the earth and gross darkness the people. Because this is the informational age where you can easily go online and search these things up for yourself. Only thing you gotta do is take time out your day and just put your energy into it. You'll be surprised how much you can learn. But majority of these people, they are totally lazy. They don't like taking time out their day. They'd rather spend it on social media, just wasting their time on BS. Don't question anything, just ready to be easily deceived by the agenda of Esau's pushing out here. And they're being dumbed down by their agenda. And that also includes 2/3 of the nation of Israel as well, because majority of our people do not consider, as the scriptures say, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That's talking about the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. They'll rather invest their time into all BS and just partying. but not considering or observing the time frames that we are in. Where Esau's about to get ready to come down with our people like a madman, sparing none. So he's doing this marketing campaign about these masks because this is leading to mandatory vaccines. And you're going to have majority of our people fall right into it because they are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Then when the microchip be implemented, they're going to be like sheep led to the slaughter. So I will leave this link in the description box for y'all to read for yourselves. It just goes more into the disadvantages of wearing masks indefinitely and how harmful it is to the human body. With these different health specialists that we see on TV, always talking about this coronavirus pandemic, they'll never mention anything like this because we know that they are all bought and paid for. And that leads me to the book of Job, the 13th chapter and the 4th verse. But ye are forgers of lies. When you forge something, it means you plaster. And that's by that mechanism of the mainstream news. Esau circulates his propaganda, his lies throughout the whole world. Has made all the nations drunken off his Babylonian wine. These people are easily deceived by Esau's lies. You are all physicians of no value. And you watch these different mainstream news shows like CBS, CNN, NBC. Esau loves to broadcast their different infectious diseases specialists, all these different top doctors and health officials that have a pull in this society. But all those are physicians of no value. They don't talk about no natural cures. They always talk about treating. So they are all physicians of no value. The word doctor means to falsify. Going right back to the book of Psalm, the 10th chapter and the 7th verse. About his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. That's what a doctor is, a fraud. Because they are falsifying the facts, which is truth. So as you can see, E is running heavy with his marketing campaign via their propaganda machine, mainstream news, about these different mandates on wearing masks. And I came across this article from WAPT.com, and it says Biden would ask Americans to wear masks for his first 100 days as president. So that concludes the lesson. As it says, some doctors and politicians engaged in vicious coercion refer to people who don't wear masks as enemy combatants. So what these elites are doing, they're using these different buzzwords such as enemy combatants, extremists, domestic terrorists, enemies, or anti-maskers, that if you don't comply with their different guidelines or mandates going to this so-called coronavirus pandemic, then you are labeled as an opposition to them, pretty much like an enemy of Rome. And that's going to play heavy on the minds of these people that actually believe everything that they hear and see on TV. And when these different mandates and guidelines start getting more stricter, so not complying to this government, they're going to portray us to the world as these are the ones and continue to allow you to be on these stay-at-home orders, not be able to go to work or to socialize out here in the public, continually making the coronavirus numbers surge. This is all part of that crafty counsel of the wicked. And like we state in the spirit, this is gradualism at its finest, because it's going from mandatory masks to mandatory vaccinations, then the mandatory implementation of the microchip, which is the mark of the beast according to the scriptures. So with that, hope you all was edified. Y'all stay strong. Shalom.